Hello, I'm Dosejna, certified astrologer, and this is the astrology for the new moon on Thursday, November 4th, 2021. This will occur on the Pacific Coast at 2:15 p.m. and on the East Coast at 5:15 p.m. This chart is set for GMT or Greenwich Mean Time 9:15 p.m. at Greenwich, England. The house system is the whole house division. Because we are dealing with an event that happens to everyone around the world simultaneously, house placement and house division is not important. What is important is how these planets interact with one another in terms of aspect and how they are in terms of dignity and ability. Now, with this new moon, there are a lot of challenges. This is a very challenging new moon. We have a loose T-square, which I will get into. That already is very difficult. We have a lot of fixed energy. So what that equates to is a lot of instability internally, a lot of instability externally, and because we are very unstable, we don't really want to it puts us in a self-preservation mode, fight or flight mode. So it makes us more prone to lash out, more prone to, okay, it's unstable, but at least it's chaotic, but at least this is familiar, if that makes sense. We need to let things crumble. We need to let things let them go, and try to find that stability internally, even though it is very hard to do so at this time. There is a solution, spoiler alert, it involves Mercury and Venus. That is the solution on how to circumnavigate through these harder transits, but nevertheless, it is a difficult time, and we're going to get into all that and why that is. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the planetary placements in terms of sign and see if any are helped or hindered due to planetary dignity and debility. And what I see right at the beginning with the Sun in Scorpio, that's not really a good sign already because the Moon is in fall in Scorpio, and that means that it is the least preferred place of the entire zodiac where the moon prefers to be. Remember, the moon enjoys stability, it enjoys comfort, it enjoys being protected, but Scorpio is all about change and destruction and figuring it out, and Scorpio says, no, don't be uncomfortable until you figured it out. And so you can that's where we get that internal instability. Our emotions are very much out of whack right now, and it's hard to find stability in that chaos. And the moon in Scorpio is where that's coming from. Mercury in Libra, Venus in Sag, neither here nor there. But remember from last video, Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. So Mars being in Scorpio is helped, but doesn't necessarily mean that it is a positive thing. It just means that Mars is strong and he is working healthily. But just because he's working healthily doesn't mean he's working with for us and for our favor. Same thing with Saturn. Although Saturn is still in a sign of rulership, and although this makes him strong towards his endeavors, it does not necessarily mean he is on our side. So we have to keep that in mind, especially considering that Mars and Saturn are part of this loose T-square that I'm about to discuss. So although they are powerful and although they are strong, it does not necessarily mean they are working in our favor. Alright, great. So the next thing we want to look at, now that we've looked at the condition of all the planets, we want to look at our element and modality distribution and look for any imbalances. Let's start with the modalities and count the cardinal. We have 2 cardinal fixed. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in fixed, 2 immutable. So as you can see, we have a lot of fixed energy. Too much stubbornness, too much elitism, too much I'm right and I'm not moving. I'm digging my heels into the ground. And you have to be the opposite right now. You have to be introspective. You can't be stubborn. You have to be open, and you have to realize that you are not in the right. Everyone, one way or another, is kind of in the right and kind of in the wrong. And the less stubborn we can be, the more open we can be to hearing how we are doing, what we are doing incorrectly, the better off we will be. Alright, let's look at the elements. Still, we have very low fire these days. Only 1 fire. 1, 2, 3, 3 in air, 2 in earth, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 in water. Isn't it crazy how quickly the elements shifted balances? Only a couple weeks ago we were very air heavy and very water weak. Now we are water heavy. So again, kind of like how it was when we were air heavy, we were striking out, we were lashing out. we're going to experience the same thing now, but it's going to be a lot more emotional, a lot more subjective. People are going to say things that they know are hurtful, and they're going to say it on purpose. Or we are going to be on the receiving end of that and be the victim of that. But either way, that's not good energy. And we're very subjective, very emotional, and we're prone to lashing out. The problem is this lack of fire. Remember, fire, yes, it's about intuition, going with our gut, going with what we want to do. But remember, Sagittarius is also a fire planet, a fire sign. And Sagittarius is all about the fire of righteousness, the fire of justice, what is right, what is wrong. And because we lack fire, we have a hard time with that litmus test. We're too subjective, we're not objective, and we're not seeing the higher octaves here of truth and justice and righteousness. You need to cultivate that more. You need to look at what the bigger picture here, what is truly right, what is truly wrong, and where you are failing in terms of letting go and realizing that you are contributing to this thing. Because everyone in some way or another is contributing to this conflict that we are now facing, but no one is taking the initiative to not only try to mend the gap, no one is taking the initiative to ask themselves, okay, where am I messing up here? What am I doing incorrectly here? And that is where we get this emotional volatility, where we're getting this lashing out. A way to remedy this, how to make up for this lack of fire, basically sweat it out, literally. High cardio, high exercise. We have too much internally that's building up, too much pressure. Take it out externally. You know, kickboxing, hiking, healthy outlets that can release that pent-up energy. So now that we looked at the elements and modalities, I want to look at the aspects here, the aspectarian. Because we are in the whole house division, the midheaven and the ascendant signs do not matter. So we're only looking at the moon and Pluto. Remember, I'm only looking at aspects that are applying. Applying means they are approaching, which means they are still developing. Separated aspects in this chart and charts like this have already passed, so they're not important. So I have my highlighter here. I am going to highlight aspects that I see with an A, because that means that they are applying. It means that they are still in action. Great, now I've highlighted all my applying aspects. Now we need to prioritize these a bit more. Now, classically speaking, the orb threshold is 3 degrees or less. So anything that goes beyond 3 degrees or less becomes automatically suspicious and unusable. For example, this orb right here, 9, that's way too big. 9 right here is way too big. Unfortunately, even though these trines are very helpful, we could use them, the orb is way too big. So we have to be mindful of that. Now I'm going to keep the 4 here and the 5 here. Even though that is out of range, this is still part of that loose T-square that I am referring to. Which I will get into. But we can definitely get rid of this one right here, the conjunction 5 orb with Mercury and Mars. So now we've eliminated these aspects a bit more. We can now prioritize them a bit more to primary and secondary. Our primary aspects are ones that meet that threshold of 3 degrees or less, and right off the way, the ones that jump right at me are these exact applying aspects that involve the new moon and Uranus. So what we have here is we have the new moon, so we have the sun in Scorpio and the moon in Scorpio, opposing Uranus and Taurus on the degree, very tight. In fact, this is the crux of our T-square that we're going to get into. This is where we get the instability externally and internally. The Scorpio stuff, with the sun and the moon, we don't feel safe in ourselves, we don't feel grounded in ourselves, and the Uranus externally makes outside events unpredictable, outside stability unpredictable, and that doesn't help. This is where we feel like this is why we feel like the rug is being pulled from under us. So now that we covered that, the only other primary aspect I see, again, is that solution right here, the orb of 1, involving Mercury and Venus. So we have Mercury in Libra, sextiling Venus in Sag with a 1 degree orb. This is the solution to all of this fighting. The higher octave here, we need to find what is truly right, what is truly wrong. Finding people with like-minded individuals where we can be reminded of those higher octaves. Now, there is a caveat here. The point is not to find like-minded people to propagate groupthink. We don't want to find people that think like us so we can put a stake in the ground for the battlefield that we are currently facing. The object is to find like-minded people to remind ourselves that there are more important things than fighting. There are more important things than these petty arguments that you find yourselves in. And this is the key here. This is the solution. But because we are dealing with a sextile, you have to put in the work yourself. You have to do the initiation yourself. So those are the primary aspects I see. Secondary aspects, definitely that loose T-square, which we will get into. Which involves right here with Mars in Scorpio squaring Saturn in Aquarius at 4, and Saturn in Aquarius squaring Uranus in Taurus at 4. Now remember, these don't make the threshold of 3 degrees, but because they are part of that T-square, they are still relevant. We can also kind of count this sextile right here, but again, because we are dealing with planets that aren't necessarily in signs that typically make a sextile. Remember, Sag and Scorpio normally don't make a sextile, but because these two planets are 60 degrees apart, they are still making a sextile. But because it is beyond 3 degrees and because they are in signs that don't typically make a sextile, this aspect is somewhat weakened. So now we have all this stuff, we distilled it a bit more. Let's look back at our chart and find these influences in action. I first want to notice the primary aspects here, the ones that are giving us the biggest problem. It involves the new moon. Here we have the sun in Scorpio, the moon in Scorpio, the new moon, opposing very strongly Uranus and Taurus to the degree. Again, this is where that instability comes in, that conflict comes in, feeling like the ground is unstable inside and outside. Now we have secondarily attached to this, remember we have the loose T-square. Here we have Saturn in Aquarius making that very loose T-square to this, along with Mars in Scorpio. So again, this is where we're going to see a lot of dead ends. You're going to be told a lot of no, you cannot move on. There is no way insurmountable, just let it go. And the problem is because Mars is here, the people that aren't able to circumnavigate and aren't able to let go, they're going to lash out and become more self-destructive, and that is not the solution. Remember, the solution involves this sextile up here with Venus and Sag sextiling Neptune, sorry, I keep saying Neptune, Mercury in Libra. This is the solution. Finding people that are like-minded, not to create groupthink, but to remind yourself of the more important things that are involved. Use them as a sounding board. People that you can trust are very helpful now. People that you can bounce ideas off of are very helpful now. Reading books that remind you of your sense of internal philosophy of righteousness and justice, that's very important. That's what's going to help you circumnavigate through these harder transits. We are dealing with a lot of conflict right now, a lot of instability, and a lot of immovability, and that is due to this T-square right here, and also a lot of the fixed signs, and also a lot of water. So that's basically why we're having all that conflict, all those issues. Again, remember, the solution involves Venus and Mercury. Go have fun, relax, read a book, find those friends, find those social circles that remind you of what really matters in life. So in a nutshell, that is the new moon in general. I hope this is helpful, and I hope this helps you out on your astrological journey. Here are all the events that occur in November of this year. We already discussed the new moon. Tomorrow we have a very interesting event, 2 ingresses happening at the same time, with Venus going into Capricorn and Mercury going into Scorpio. We then have the full moon on the 19th, and then 2 more ingresses later on in the month. And we will discuss those as they move on. Until that time, I wish you the best of luck on your astrological journey. My name is Dosajna. Have a great day, and until next time, namaste.